All right, hi, it's Fred Simoneau from ProfilProg.com. I am pleased today to have Adam Rabin, keyboard and vocal from Elephants of Scotland, directly from Vermont, USA. So, good evening, Adam.
Hello, how you doing?
Good, how you been?
Been well, been really busy lately, as you can imagine.
Good.
Yep.
Uh, Elephants of Scotland will be releasing their third album on June 17th, titled The Perfect Map.
Yep.
Please briefly describe the album for us.
Well, let's see. It's with our last couple. I mean, with each album, we're trying to. We don't really have a plan. There's no obviously. There's actually no map. There's no path we're heading down. We just kind of see what we write. We usually have a few songs in the bag, and then we kind of build the rest of them out from there. After the second album, we were pretty much out of songs. That was everything we had written or had worked on. So with this album, everything was written from scratch. We had a few old ideas, not complete songs, but just a couple of chord progressions here and there and ideas. And they just over the last 2 years, the ideas just started to form into complete songs. The first one that we wrote, the first one that we completed, I should say, was was probably Sun Dipped Orphans and the Wizard's Teapot, which is the first song on the album also. And that just came from, a few ideas I was messing around on the piano. And then, per usual, my good friend Greg Skillman, who writes a lot of our lyrics, he sent me a big pile of lyrics, and that one just jumped out at me. And then, yeah, just like same with all the other songs, a couple seeds of an idea, a couple little chord progressions from the last album that never made it onto anything, and next thing we have an album, and now we have to record it.
That's awesome. Looking where you're at right now compared to your first album, Home Away from Home,
Yep.
which was released in 2013, what would you say is different or the same?
I think uh, what is the same is that it's a good question. What's the same is it's definitely us, and we're not trying to accomplish anything in particular. We're not trying to sound like anything. We're still discovering who we are and what we sound like. And I hope, oddly enough, I hope we continue to do that. I hope we never really figure out who we are, because that kind of keeps us on edge and makes each song on every album, I hope, is a unique song, a unique experience. I think we have some kind of general sound. The four of us playing is going to create a certain vibe. But with each song, we don't want to fall back on what Elephants of Scotland sounds like or what we think fans are expecting to hear. So I think with this album, we're trying a few more acoustical ideas, and it's a little more song and vocal based, as opposed to maybe on previous albums where it's a little more technical or a little more synth and drum heavy. With this one, we're very focused on telling stories with each song, taking folks on a journey, whether it's 5 minutes or 9 minutes long, and each track is its own experience, more so than I think the other few albums.
Would you say you have become like more matured as a band, or?
I don't think any musician likes to hear the word mature,
Oh,
but yeah, I think certain elements of our music is getting more refined. We're figuring some things out. We're executing things a little more concisely, a little more clearly. But like I was saying before, as long as we continue to not let ourselves solidify or calcify into any particular style or sound, every song will be like we were just born yesterday. Every song will be a, the sound of a new band forming.
so I'll try not to
That's the
use
goal.
I'll try not to use mature anymore and use refine.
Refine. There you go.
Yes,
Refine.
one of our reviewer, Mark Thibault, who also did the review on the Perfect Map, which is going to be released probably or on our website tomorrow, noticed a change in the singing. He said it's less rhymes,
Hmm.
more variations, and he also compared the singing as Gentle Giants.
Okay.
So, what do you
That's
think
great to
about it?
hear. Yeah, I love Gentle Giant. Gentle Giant is one of my Prague heroes. You know, they never stood still for too long. They were always trying, daring themselves. They were very daring. They did stuff that you really, even within the Prague world, they're like, let's see how crazy we can make it. You know, Frank Zappa was really good at that. I think Gentle Giant put their crazy ideas into stuff that was more consumable, you know, a little more easy for me to access anyway, a little more rocking, you know, had some more balls to it. Uh, but I'll never deny a comparison to Gentle Giant. And singing wise, Derek Schulman, uh, I don't know, maybe it's just he and I are, when it comes to voice, you're kind of given a voice when you're born. You know, you can only try, you know, so if I sound like Derek Schulman, then I don't know, maybe, you know, we're from similar stock, you know, where our families are from the same part of the world. And there's very, you know, you don't see too many, yeah, you know, he's a little chubby like I am. He could grow a beard. I could grow a beard, I guess. I don't know. Uh, I've always liked how, and Kerry Minier is the other vocalist with Gentle Giant. He's the, you know, the keyboard player, and he would do like the softer stuff. And that kind of speaks to a something that Elephants has, which is we have a few different singers, you know, based on the different styles that a song might require. So, you know, for the rock and heavy stuff, you know, Derek Schulman would sing, or we'll get our bass player Dan, because he sounds a lot like me, but he's got more grit. You know, it's a little fuller. Some of the softer, you know, maybe quirkier or softer, gentle stuff will come to me, and then Lefty, John White, is our guitar player, and if we need something that's like really high up, and really, you know, we really want to cut through with that nice tenor voice, you know, we have him. So I think some of my favorite bands, you know, whether it's Gentle Giant or even Fleetwood Mac, where you have a few different singers to kind of give each song what it requires. And then the first part of the question was fewer rhymes and more variation. I think that might come from some of the lyrics come from Greg Skillman, as I was saying, and he very rarely writes with lyrics in mind. He's just writing poems, or he's just putting his thoughts on paper, not really knowing what he's going to do with it. And you know, he'll send it to me, and he was very surprised, for example, with Sun-Dipped Orphans and the Wizard's Teapot. Like, how is that? If you saw the original version of the lyric, which was really just a poem, you wouldn't see a lyric in it. Somehow I did. You know, I kind of chopped up the lines a little differently than he did, and I changed a couple words to kind of make it singable. But the reason that it doesn't rhyme is because he wasn't thinking about a song at that time. In fact, in a couple months, we're going to be releasing an instrumental version of the album, and it's going to have an extra track called Lost Childhood, which is a kind of an instrumental variation on Sun-Dipped Orphans in the background, and Greg actually reciting the original poem that Sun-Dipped Orphans and the Wizard's Teapot is based on. So it's going to introduce the album. So you're going to hear this different flow to that song. It's not going to have the sing-songy method that I have. It's going to be more like a poetry reading with like a few different words here and there that you say, oh wait, he took that. You'll be able to hear what I did to his poem by contrast. So I think that's going to be an interesting exercise in understanding the process of working with a lyricist. Is that, yeah, they'll write the lyrics, but ultimately the person singing it is going to have to find a way to make it his own, make it musical.
Who created your album cover?
I did that. That's one of my little simpler pleasures in being in a prog band. You know, there's a lot of, you know, mixing and writing and composing and all the complicated stuff. And fortunately, I get to just like fool around in Photoshop every couple of years and come up with a cover. And with this one, I had so much fun. I don't know if you've gotten the CD. Your CD's in the mail.
Yeah.
It'll be there. It has I also made a lyric book this time, and I was just going through these like 500, 600, 700-year-old medieval drawings and paintings I was finding them online and then, just kind of messing around with them in Photoshop, making them look cool. And yeah, so the lyric book kind of has pictures from ages ago that kind of correspond with each song. I think the idea for this album cover and the lyric booklet, and going back to the medieval period, started with Swing the Gavel, which is the fourth track on the new album. And it was originally written, we were the people at Musea Records who do the Decameron CD compilations. I don't know if you've heard of that before. It's this humongous compilation of literally 100 songs based on this book from the 1300s called the Decameron, which is 100 short stories, and each band gets a short story and writes a song based on it. So that was the first song we recorded last May, and I did some research. I wrote the lyrics based on the short story, which is why that song in particular tells a very specific story. And I did some research online, and I found this painting from the original book, of the judge and the three pranksters, pulling his pants down, which is also in the video, the lyric video that I put up online. So once I got that, I was like, oh, this is fun playing with these old images, because one, they're kind of pretty in their own kind of crude, ancient way, and they're free, so I don't actually have to draw. So I can't really draw very well, but I can take pictures into Photoshop and chop them up and do all kinds of stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that's what I did with this one.
Very nice work.
Yep.
What I noticed, because you were at Terra Incognita back in 2015, and something that I noticed is humor. Lots of humor, lots of laugh, even on stage. So is it still part of the new Elephants of Scotland moving
Absolutely.
forward?
Yeah, I think it'll always be. If an artist uses music or whatever medium to express who they are, I would hope that humor is always going to be a part of that. If someone writes a whole album and it's all serious and depressing, I'd be worried about the person. It's like, are you okay? Are you always this depressed? Is this much doom and gloom? So I think the content of our records, for me anyway, is a pretty good representation of who we are as people. So there's a little bit of wondering. There's a little bit of curiosity in a few of the songs. There's a little bit of playfulness. There's some humor. There's some romance. There's some, a little bit of anger, a little bit of protest. I think this album is a really good example of that, that how each song has its own mood. Sun-Dipped Orphans and the Wizard's Teapot, a little bit quirky, a little bit humorous, but also a bit, fairy tale-ish, a bit, full of wonder. And then the next song, Counting on a Ghost, is very much a protest, an anger kind of song. One by Sea, the third song, is about heartbreak. It's very much a love song, which, is a part of anyone's life, whether it's, direct, boy-girl or boy-boy or whatever romance. And then Swing the Gavel is a pretty funny song.
Yeah.
I mean, it's this whole build-up. It's this whole, medieval tale that ultimately results in some guy getting his pants pulled down. Perfect Map, then the second half of the album, side 2, if you will. Not that you should flip the CD over and put it in your CD player, because that won't work well. But the second half of Perfect Map, it starts with the Perfect Map, which is the title track, and deservedly so, because it really does represent, it talks about where we are as a band in our individual lives. We're all, a couple of us since the last album turned 50, and the rest of us are in our 40s. And we're kind of at that point where it's like, where are we going? What is the point of all this? Are we on the right path? Can we even know who we are and what we're supposed to be doing, and are we doing the right thing? And who knows, maybe the whole thing could get thrown up and ruined, in the blink of an eye. It's been, like I said, it's been a really tough year over the last 2 years for all of us, whether it's, turning 50 or, there's been half of us got divorced in the last couple of years. Half of us got married in the last 2 years. There have been deaths and moving house. I mean, it's been a really eventful, personal couple years. And that's what I was going for in the perfect map. Is, you think you're on a certain path in life, and then you never know. Man plans and God laughs again. That's an old Yiddish saying. Man plans, God laughs. It's like you think you know what you're doing, but you could be completely wrong. And then to sum up the whole journey of what we were going for with the lyrics on the album and where humor plays into that is the final lyrical track, Random Earth, is just us saying, we don't know. Everything really is random. And what we should be doing, or what we could be doing, is enjoying the beauty of the moment. And that's one of the lines in there. The beauty of this moment is right now. And then the final song, which is an instrumental, is about my dog. Is a little elegy for my dog who died last September. And Buddy was with the band. He was our co-producer from the very beginning at all the practices and so forth. So we had to, pay tribute to him. So to answer your original question of where does humor belongs in music to the same degree it belongs in our lives, to the same degree that wonder and curiosity and doubt and anger belong as part of any album, as part of any person's life.
So you're still gonna be wearing that hat sometimes, right?
Oh, the Viking hats?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
That's good.
How can we not now? We've kind of
The
we've kind of
signature.
made that tacit promise that we're always going to have those hats. What we do with the hats remains to be seen,
Oh,
but we'll have them.
that's good. How's it with today's reality and with the music industry to create and release a progressive rock album in 2016?
Yeah, that's a good question. It has its pros and cons. The big pro is that in 2016 we can record a whole album by ourselves. I mean, I'm talking to you from my basement, and right over there is my keyboards, and right behind the computer is the drum kit with a bunch of mics on it. You can't see it. I'll turn the computer on. No, and then so we record the whole thing down here, and we're able to, which is great. The downside, of course, is that everybody can, and everybody does, and there are just thousands of albums coming out every day. The downside of that is, how do you cut through the crowd, or is it even possible? And there are no, the whole label record. I don't need to tell you this. I mean, record label, the whole concept of being a rock star is kind of irrelevant. Basically, there was a cutoff right around, I don't know, let's say it was right around 2000. If you weren't a big star by 2000, you're not going to be one. You had to get in before that, and then everything just, the whole music industry just started democratizing itself and breaking down into very small groups. So again, it's always going to be a pro-con. The pro is that there's tons of prog rock out there, and tons of this kind, neo prog and metal prog and math prog and every single kind of subgenre and subgenre. So if you want something, you can find it, and there's plenty of it to go around. And so it's fun being part of that. It's fun not having the pressure. I say it's fun. It's not like I have a choice. There's no pressure for us. We can just enjoy what we do. So I think it's a net gain. That we get to enjoy it. We get to make the music we want. No one tells us. We don't have any label to say we need a single, or you need to keep the songs under 5 minutes, because that would be really dumb to keep all of our songs under 4 or 5 minutes. That'd be There used to be people that would say that to Yes, to Rush, to Genesis. What can we put on the radio?
Exactly.
There's no radio, so it's a moot point nowadays.
Well, very interesting answer. So you've been very active on social networks as well. Does that really help on the marketing side of things?
That's mostly Dan's work. Dan McDonald, bass player, he's the big one there. I do a little bit, but he's got the energy, and that's like his personality, which is great. It's great that the four of us in the band each have our own little strengths. I have to say it's key. It's absolutely key. It got us into Rozfest, hands down. Dan's networking and schmoozing online with the gang down in Gettysburg, PA, definitely got us into Rosfest. And me following Terra Incognita, and so forth through Facebook, and then contacting Michelle directly is what got us into there. And it's also what has connected us to many of the other bands in the area and actually around the world that have found us. Like I said, now that music is so, there's so many different little clubs, people can find us, and that's how we get out there. I mean, it's not so much is social networking, good or bad. It's the only option. It is the game. It is our promotion, and it's our distribution, and it's our news source. What else could there be? It's not going to be on MTV. It's not going to be on, there is no national radio. There's no national distribution. There's barely any record stores left. So it's absolutely central, not just important. Yeah.
So what can we expect from Elephants of Scotland in the near future?
Gigging. That's our real focus. I mean, we spent pretty much the last year writing and recording the album, and by the end of the process, we're getting a little bit of cabin fever. It's like, we got to get out. We just want to get out and play. We've got 3 albums worth of material, so we have enough to kind of swap in and out on a given night if we want to play this song or not play that song. And we feel good about all the music. We're getting tighter and tighter as a band every year. Now it's just playing. We have a couple gigs in July in New Hampshire. We have a local gig in August, and we're always trying to get back up to Montreal and Quebec because we had such a. I'm not just kissing your butt. The show at Brutopia in Montreal and Terra Incognita in Quebec City were 2 of our favorite gigs. I mean, just the crowds were so energetic and focused. I mean, Canada really. Every time we go to Montreal or Quebec City, there's a real understanding and a deep appreciation for this type of music. Probably in part because of its European roots from all the way back 40 years ago.
Yep.
So whenever we play Canada, or whenever I go up to Canada, whether it's the record stores or some great prog rock focused record stores even in Montreal, there's a real understanding and appreciation and a close association with the genre. And that's why we want to get up there and play more, because Canada seems to get us in a way that we're having trouble, breaking through in Vermont. I mean, Vermont is a great state. We all love living here, but the music scene is somewhere between non-existent and reggae and hip hop. It's a college town, so the bulk of the music fans around here are under 30. And some of them are getting it. Some of them come out to the shows, which is great, but just the numbers aren't here. If we were in New York City, I'm sure we could pull in we could book more gigs and reach our audience. But we're an hour and a half away from Montreal and just a couple more hours up to Quebec City. So anything anyone can do to get us gigs, we're all ears. We would love to get up there some more and play. We have a few. I can't give anything away, but we have a potential gig in January or February in Montreal, but I'd love to get back up there in the fall if possible.
Right, awesome. All right, I guess that's the end on my behalf, and as well as on Profile's behalf. I'd like to congratulate you for this brand new album of yours. Wish
Thanks.
you the best success, and thank you very much. Anything you want to add?
Just that we appreciate everyone's support, everyone who keeps writing us and liking us. I think we're just about to hit 2,000 on Facebook, which is a great milestone. And it's, if we didn't have fans, if we weren't able to make these connections, either with you and what you're helping us do, I don't think we would record. We wouldn't be playing. We wouldn't still be a band. It's tough to do something for 5 or 6 years and not have the feedback.
Yeah.
Without any feedback, it just kind of, it'll peter off. But the energy that's out there in the prog world is a huge part of what keeps us going. So I appreciate everything you're doing, and I look forward to seeing you up in Quebec City, hopefully very soon.
We hope so as well.
Yeah.
All right.
Right.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.